Pat Forsythe, please, who many of you would know is also the Executive Director of the Sydney Business Chamber, has been doing a lot of work in this space. So, Pat.
Thank you, Minister. Well, our question was around other systems, places where the planning system works well, whether it's other states or other countries. And our 5 tables, there were some remarkably similar themes, and they're themes that are no different than have emerged from the discussion in other rooms, even if the questions were very different. And they went to the first of all, if you were looking at other systems, what is it that you were going to note? And the issue emerged from each group just about that we needed clarity around the objectives of the Act, and I'll come back to places where we might have seen that, and also that there needed to be a culture that supported the planning, a positive can-do attitude. And then what emerged through from some of that was that certain places things work well, and they work well where there is agreement between the various levels of government, so whether it was local and state or however it might apply. But regions became quite important as a theme that merged, and the importance of regional planning. Before we completely throw away the New South Wales Act, I have to say that a couple of things emerged as being positive in the New South Wales Act. Mind you, it was only a couple, but I should throw them in. The Joint Regional Planning panel seemed to be had some support, as did the notion of the gateway proposal concept, and I should mention those because when you listen to many of the other places, a lot of places got a big tick, well ahead of the sort of things that happen in New South Wales. Up front it was noted that if you are going to change the culture, if we are going to move to something that's new and different, perhaps we should look at what New Zealand and Queensland did, and that is a complete new act, throw away the old act, change the culture, change the language. But the emphasis was also very much around plain English, but that you can't achieve. It's not small incremental change, you will need significant change. And also this issue about e-planning, and the United States got a big tick for being well ahead of us, and that it should allow for some fine-grain analysis of almost down to each building, each site, and real-time database, and it's something that I think planners are hugely enthusiastic about. But we did note, particularly as we moved to some of our smaller country councils, that in terms of the skill support that they will need, we shouldn't underestimate the challenge that will sit there. But then in terms of some of the areas, I'm going to come to one region last, because 3 of 5 tables all came back to the same one region. But there'll be some themes. Clarity around objectives of the Act. Portland, Oregon, Vancouver were identified. The United Kingdom is seen to be important because there were housing targets and the councils were held accountable around their targets. South Australia was mentioned for the fact that they've moved to a good coordination between infrastructure and spatial land use, but it also has involved a strong cooperative support between other levels of government, and it works well because the strategic plan not only informs the planning process, but informs many other government departments in what their objectives and what they can do as well. Also, there seems to be a greater attempt to separate politics from policy in terms of implementation. The ACT got a particular mention because it benefits from one council, one code, one approval process, one planning culture. And that might not be applicable in one sense, but I think there were some underlying themes there. So the collegiate approach came across from many of them. That was particularly identified in a couple of areas. New Jersey in the United States has achieved a good acceptance across levels of government. Another thing was thrown in, that best practice needs to be seen as part of what we're doing, and so that council areas have a real understanding of best practice as part of the consultation process. San Diego, another one where they've had strong governance but a clear vision, and there's been a good level of cooperation at various levels there. And the Netherlands in the 1990s, collaboration across councils. But particular mention because the 3 of 5 tables had good knowledge of the South East Queensland region and what they've managed to achieve. They managed to achieve a regional plan involving a number of local councils, achieved in 18 months. They've done it and they've created a single authority, They had strong political leadership, so they had strong leadership. They had all the mayors in agreement. It acquired statutory force, but it had one other thing going for it. In the development of the plan, they were able to tie funding for infrastructure to the process, and it galvanised not only the community but the local councillors as well, and the outcome has been some clear commitment to spending on infrastructure that is tied to the plan. So there were some themes in that that everybody identified as something that was important, but clearly cooperation. So whether it's single councils or whether it's regional groupings of councils, being able to work together to at that sort of level, and then applying infrastructure to it, seemed to be an important way forward if we want to see the sort of goals that we talked about in the first part of the morning. So from our point of view, to Minister and to Tim Moore, we think it's a huge task ahead, so I'll just say good luck.